searching for now, but I have only reason. Keep you closer tonight, but when the sun goes down.
allow me to introduce our teams. First, the pride of Springfield College. Team captain, Josh Shatanko. Blaze Rousseau. Skylar Cook. Ryan Delph. Caleb Palacio. Will Wilson. Gustavan Swess. Team captain, Peyton Kramer. Devin Felsenstein. Owen Carney, team captain. Nolan Krim. Cameron Rhymes. Jacob Serdequist. Michael Dalton. And Evan Riker. It's the pride of Springfield College. The pride is coached by the head coach, Matt Davis. Assistant coaches, Norm Bullrice, Carol Donnelly, and Alex Castro Perez. And now for the midshipmen of Navy. Zachary Solio, Cody Phillips, Aaron Stein, Jonah Saltz, team captain Danilo Visiana, Cody Takanaga, Justin Lozano, Brian Solomon, Ben Thurlolam, Aaron Zorgo, Nathan Bunton, Julian Galvez, Matthew Ziegler, Sean Armstrong, Peyton Guillory, Daniel Gurovich, Misha Romo, Ben Venters, McKinley Michelle, Matthew Petros, Colby Prince, Garrett Wallace, Saran Alexander, Tristan Mai, and Boone Washburn. And the midshipmen are coached by our head coach, Kim Simons, assistant coaches Craig Holt, Ryan Terrell, and J.M. Michelle. Ladies and gentlemen, the midshipmen of Navy. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask at this time you please rise as we honor America with the playing of our national anthem performed by Max Hockeyco. Thank you, Max. Coaches, gymnasts, let's begin our competition. Team captains, please report to the center. Along with the director of the shows for today, Mike Heberly.
All right. Hello and good afternoon. Welcome to Halsey Field House, where Navy midshipmen will be competing against the Springfield Pride in Annapolis, Maryland. And wow, what a national anthem. That was fantastic guitar work. My name is Christian Marsh, and I will be joined by my co-host, Brandon Briones. I was an NCAA gymnast where I competed in the ECAC for 5 years. And Brandon is also an NCAA gymnast where he competed not only NCAA for Stanford, but he also competed elite. So we are joined today by an Olympic alternate, which is truly a treat. He's got some expert critiques, advice, and technical analysis that he's going to be able to bring to the table for us.
Yeah, thanks, Christian. As Christian mentioned, my name is Brandon Briones. I'm excited to be here. I love NCAA gymnastics and what it brings to the sport. So I'm going to be working with Christian today to give you some good insight onto what we see today.
All right, the Navy midshipmen have Kip Simons as their head coach, assistant coaches Craig Holt and Ryan Terrell. Kip has been there for a number of years in which the Navy midshipmen have been wildly successful, winning a number of consecutive conference championships. Although last year they fell to the Army, so they will certainly be looking to reclaim that Navy dominance in the ECAC. As we can see here, the Navy midshipmen were number 1 in their conference last season, with an average of a 311.1 and a high of a 320.7. And that is a huge high. That is pushing second day of the NCAA championship finals high. And that is fantastic work, although they have graduated a number of very talented seniors who contributed heavily to the team score. So they'll have to work to fill those gaps. And luckily, they have the underclassmen and moving upperclassmen to do so.
And introducing Springfield head coach Matt Davis, beginning his 9th season as the head coach for the Pride and a former All-American gymnast. And he's led with assistant coaches Cale Donnelly, Norm Bullrice, and Alex Castro Perez. Springfield comes at a bit of an underdog status into this competition, finishing 5th in their conference, averaging a 304.86 and high of 309.3. But this is a new season. This team is hungry and they got a lot of talent coming up, so we'll be excited to see how they start off the season.
All right, and it looks like we have started with Navy's first routine on the floor exercise. So Brandon, I'm going to hand off the reins to you, and you can provide us with your analysis on the floor exercise.
All right, we got Jonah Soltz starting off his routine as a leadoff guy. Leadoff position is always hard, especially on the first event. You want to set the tone for the whole routine. So far, he's doing well. The floor is all about landings, the game of minimizing deductions from the landing position. This is a dismount double pike, stuck dismount, so he gets an extra 1/10 of a bonus to his score if you stick the dismount on floor. And that was a D value element, so great dismount for him. New rule, relatively new rule for the floors, you have to end with a double flip, so it makes the routine that much more difficult.
And it looks like next up we will have senior Will Wilson. You might have seen him on social media where he has quite the following. He is also a very explosive athlete, lots of power, fantastic control, and he is also one of the team's highest contributors in the 2025 season. So
Great double front side pass. Really big pass, double in tuck position. You can see how much power he has just by the height that he gets. Another thing we're going to see on the floor is new transition. So it's a new rule taking into effect this season where every transition has to be different and unique. And so we're going to see these gymnasts adding some artistry to their routines. He's moving really efficiently in this routine. So far, he's minimized the landing deduction. He's got a great amount of difficulty. Front full punch, front layout. When you connect passes or connect elements 2 in a row, you get some 1/10 of a bonus as well. double Arabian, half out dismount. That was a great routine, has a good amount of difficulty. Really small amounts of deduction on the landings, didn't really take too many 3/10thers. And so he's looking to get a good score on that one.
It's a great routine to have second, right? So I mentioned Will Wilson was one of the biggest contributors to the team last season. He was actually the second highest contributor on floor, narrowly edged out by his teammate Caleb Palacio, who we'll also hopefully see today, right? And so we have an upperclassman and one of the best floor workers on the team from last season working in that second place, right? So we have working in that leadoff spot, right? And that is going to give the team some confidence, right? Establish a good baseline for the athletes to follow.
Jonas Schultz scored a 12.8 from that first routine for Navy. You see that small score on the left of the 12.8, 4.6, that's a start value. So how gymnastics scoring works is it starts from a 10.0 that's taking deductions away from anything that the gymnast does imperfectly, and then adding the difficulty score.
That was a huge first pass. Layout, punch, front, double pike. That is big gymnastics.
Yeah, not an easy pass. Second pass also very difficult. I believe that got upgraded, Arabian double pike.
It is. It's an E value now. Although he did have a slight knee bend in the air, right? And so judges in that pursuit of perfection might actually take the pike credit and award him a tuck instead.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how if his start value gets deducted. That would be a small hit to his routine score, but not detrimental at all. Good landing there, able to spot the floor over his shoulder for that front pull. Oh, just barely couldn't hang on to that stick, but overall, great routine. Really excited to see that.
Put a little more context into Mr. Brian Solomon. He was the Navy Midshipman's highest point scorer last season. He's a great all-arounder, and in addition to that, he competed at the Winter Cup Nationals.
Next up, we're going to see Evan Reichert from Springfield College.
Yeah, Evan was a staple in the floor lineup last season, so it is not surprising to see him back, and I'm excited to see what upgrades he has for us this year. I also like the new uniform for any Springfield fans who also noticed. I'm a big fan. Ooh.
Good technique on that. Really saw the ground early as he was coming in. Great stuck landing.
That's 2 sticks. Ooh, triple full
Triple
side
full
pass.
side pass. You don't see that very often. Usually, that's kind of a pass that you want to use the full length of the floor on. And so to fit into that small section of the floor on the side has to be pretty efficient. Held on to that 1.5 front full. You saw he over-rotated that first skill a little bit. Could lead to some trouble, but he has great air awareness, as you can tell. And so he's able to recognize where he was in the air and adjust on the fly. Now he's getting ready for, it looks like his dismount. Double pike. Small hop forward. Overall, really good routine. He had a great amount of difficulty in there and executed pretty well.
You spoke about that low landing he caught out of the 1.5 punch front full, right? And these athletes are very strong, and that is specifically the kind of strength you build in the weight room, right? So when you catch something low like that and you're able to hold on to it and turned it into a stick. I like to tell the athletes, and I said to myself when I was on the team, that's why we lift, right? We lift to be strong enough to hold on to landings like that.
Yeah, that's a small thing that you might not catch if you don't watch a ton of gymnastics, but catching low landings like that can make or break your routine. You know, if you're missing a little bit of air awareness or a little bit of strength, maybe endurance is not quite there, the physique isn't built up, you can sit that down, and that turns from what was a no landing deduction or no step deduction into a fall if you're not able to hold that on. So, and a fall in gymnastics, just to remind, is a full point off the total score. So anytime you sit down, put your hands on the floor, that's a sign of a big deduction.
To give you a brief score update, Will Wilson's score came in at a 12-3 for that first routine from Springfield, and Brian Solomon's is now back at a 13.4, so he takes a sizable lead, 6/10.
This is Daniel Gurevich for Navy.
He was another huge contributor for Navy last season.
This is an example of another non-acrobatic type of element that is a requirement on floor. Every gymnast must complete at least one of those, and that can come in different forms, like a strength move or a pommel horse looking move like that. So far, clean routine, not as difficult as the last couple of routines we saw, but he's minimizing deductions. 2.5 front layout, great landing.
So switching up the corner transitions as we see.
Looks like he's getting ready for the dismount, double pike. Small hop backwards. You'll see that double pike is becoming really popular now. It is one of the baseline double flipping elements that you can perform to achieve that element group.
It's generally easier to flip backwards at the end of a routine than it is to go forwards, although I would love to see someone end their routine with a front double top. I think that would be the perfect amount of unhinged and raw power.
I would love to see that.
Ooh, that was nice.
Nice stuck front double full. This guy's a powerful tumbler. You can tell by the way he's utilizing those forward flipping passes. As Christian mentioned, flipping forward takes a lot more energy and strength. So there's that example of a triple full done how you would typically see it down the diagonal pass. Gymnasts only have 70 seconds to complete their floor routine, so they got to move efficiently, but take breaks and take a breath where they can. Another great landing, 2.5 front layout.
Full turning hitch kick, that's one of the new stylistic elements we see in the corner.
And double pike, yeah, so you noticed he did that stylistic element that can replace the scale requirement that used to be 100% required last season.
And you mentioned the timing of floor. Something I would like to point out is, floor is uniquely tiring. Not only is, tumbling very energy intensive, right? So that's something that gets you out of breath pretty quickly. But it's also the only event where if you fall, the timer actually does not stop. You still only have 70 seconds to get it together and finish your routine. So that race against the clock can be rather intense.
And there's sort of a rhythm that you want to hit, timing between each pass, and you don't want to rush too fast at the beginning and then you're out of gas. You want to really take advantage of that full time. And so you'll see, want to make the routine pretty cohesive and smooth, transitioning from one corner to another. typically when you're doing a non-acro element like this pressed handstand, you want to do it kind of slow, take a deep breath. For these athletes, that kind of element is simple for them, so they can just kind of reset, get ready for the next pass. Front double full, pretty late in the routine, so pretty impressive to get that done. Double pike dismount again. A little bit of a low landing. You want to see that chest be raised up as the gymnast comes down to the floor. That's another potential deduction that the judge can see. I think he did a good job of raising his chest as he was landing to kind of minimize that error.
This young man, Caleb Palacio, he was the team's highest point scorer last season, just across the board. He was the team's biggest contributor. And not only that, when I talk about power, just athleticism, he is one of the first athletes you should picture. This young man is capable of playing in the stars as he tumbles.
Yeah, qualified to the NCAA championships and one of the ECAC gymnasts to watch for Springfield. As you can see, that first pass, double layout with a full twist. Can't understate how much harder it is to flip in the layout position. And man, just like a cat, caught that front full double front connection pass right where he wanted it to get that stick.
Up to the side was a silly, simple step deduction. Oh, and that step backwards. So when I talk about simple step deduction, there are specific ways in which you're supposed to transition to and or from the corners. And just taking steps backwards actually will get you a 1/10. So that's, of course, a kink to work out later in the season, but the tumbling here has been phenomenal so far.
Yeah, that's new stuff. Tumbling is amazing, and I'm interested to see how the judges are able to catch all those little things now, because it is a new rule, so we'll see how that reflects in his score. But man, sky high double pike, over-rotated it a little bit. He got so much height, but wow, that was a powerful routine.
Very much so. I think if he had stuck that dismount, I think it would have had a pretty comfortable win for his routine, although he took about a 3/10 on the way back there. I'm not sure if a line judge called whether or not his heels went out. I couldn't see. And so I would guess that ended up pretty close to Brian Solomon, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, that dismount might have brought him down a little bit. Looks like he took 1 or 2 steps, and then if his heel does go out of bounds, 1 foot out of bounds is 1/10 neutral deduction outside of the score. So, but based on the tumbling, I would expect him to challenge Brian Solomon for that event win.
And so we saw one of them today with that full twisting double layout from Caleb Palacio. But those double layout elements received an upgrade this past code. So double layout is now an E. If you see that full twisting double layout, that's an F. And if you get someone cool enough to do a double twisting double layout, that is a G, right? And so a decently difficult skill that you'll be seeing in college routines are around DE level, right? And so seeing people push above that to these Fs and these Gs is just showing the progression of the sport and how athletes are willing to cater their routines and show off their talents when it is being rewarded by the code of points.
Yeah, and I think that's another bonus that we might see, bringing the skills down from 10 skills to 8 skills recently in the sport, can allow gymnasts to really hone in on those big skills and really develop their routines. So, early on in the season, it's not totally clear how coaches like to structure their seasons. Some like to really push all the difficulty at the beginning, some like to build up, but generally you want to see early on in the season, maybe not the most difficult routine, but trying out some new skills and hard elements like that, those double layouts, as you mentioned. We'll see more and more athletes start to put that in as the season goes along.
Taking a look at the scores here, that's a pretty good floor rotation. I mean, across the board, of course, right? Because there were no falls, if I recall correctly, right? And
Yeah,
not
no
only
falls.
that, maybe punched 30. I mean, they should have averaged about a 13, right? Because only the 12-8 falling below that's great. Averaging a 13 on floor is exactly where you want to be.
Yeah, and as we see Caleb Palacio score 13.65, so winning the floor routine with that stellar start to his routine and great tumbling, great landings, 15.0 start value, second highest behind Brian Solomon. So he's got a little bit of a buffer there, but that was a great routine, and excited to see, or nice to see the rotation or the competition start off with a good, clean rotation from both teams hitting 100%.
Just imagine he sticks that dismount. He's flirting with a 14 score on the floor, and that is huge stuff.
Yeah, anywhere near 14, you're looking at some really fantastic gymnastics. So first routine of the year, 13.65, really nice to see.
Looks like Navy is ahead here by around just under 5/10, 0.45 going into the next rotation. But Pommel Horse is the wild, wild west, right? We have no clue how this rotation will go. The athletes don't either, despite their best efforts. Pommel Horse is a cruel mistress, and she shall not be tamed.
Yeah, anything can happen in gymnastics, but especially on Pommel Horse, widely considered the hardest routine or hardest event in the sport. And so a lot of times you'll see, especially on college teams, a couple guys in the rotation are Pommel Horse specialists, where it's their one event and it's where they really shine and get to really boost their team's score and focus on that difficult piece that not everyone can really do. And it's kind of antithetical to other events in kind of the range of motion where your arms need to go behind your back. You spend so many years developing the strength needed for gymnastics in handstand positions and on ring strength skills, and it can really hinder your ability to swing Pommel Horse well. But anytime you see someone with an extended swing, a straight body, and they look like they're just kind of easy flowing over the routine, that's a sign that this is a great Pommel Horse worker.
Should be a real battle. I mean, both of these teams are good Pommel Horse teams. And that being said, we do have the prophetic return of Peyton Kramer, who is a Springfield athlete who is an NCAA All-American on Pommel Horse. We don't have too many NCAA All-Americans in the ECAC generally. And Pommel Horse can be especially tough because, as you talked about, there are these specialists who train consistently and only on Pommel Horse. And Peyton isn't even a pure specialist, but he is phenomenal on Pommel Horse, and I'm very excited to see him back in action today after he missed due to injury last season.
Yeah, he's coming up as the anchor spot, so it's going to be an exclamation mark on this rotation of Pommel Horse, so I'm excited to see that as well.
So since Navy started on floor exercise, Springfield should start on Pommel Horse, and we'll flip back and forth, although you will notice that Navy has a fifth athlete going in Brian Solomon, who will be competing in the all-around spot. And what that means is that although he will be competing Pommel Horse and it'll count for his all-around score, because he's that fifth athlete up in this extra spot, it will not count towards the team score. That being said, he's clearly no stranger to the horse. If we're being technical, Brian Solomon was actually the team's highest point scorer on Pommel Horse last season. So,
and that's kind of a good sign if you're if the head coach is putting him up as an all-around position, because that means that you want to count 4 scores that are potentially even better than that. So, not a shabby Pommel Horse lineup that we're going to see.
Looks like we are nearing the end of this 2-minute touch, and a lot of the athletes seem like they'll be off camera, but I can assure you they will be jumping around, moving in the background. You can see some of the athletes from Springfield moving in the back in their warm-up gear. The field house is cold. But if you have not been there in person, I will let you know that big open space, it does not hold heat the best. So it can be difficult to stay warm, and it's something these Navy midshipmen are accustomed to, right? Because this is where they train day in, day out. But if you are coming from somewhere else where, the building might be generally a little warmer, it can be a difficult thing to adjust to, right? So these athletes will be moving in the background, hopping up and down, wearing their sweats to make sure they're staying warm enough to swing and compete.
Yeah, it really is a little bit of a home field advantage for Navy to have that kind of environment. And it's especially difficult on Pommel, so you want to stay loose and warm. So we'll see how this gets started as we start off.
Doing some Pommel work with the direct Stockley B. Single Pommel back. All right, that was a D flop. All right, so a single Pommel sequence valued at a D, although he did have a form break, right? So those judges, those pens never stop moving when you're on a Pommel horse. It's a very difficult event to have high execution on, although he is more than doing his job for the most part, right? He had a pretty good swing, although that dismount is definitely going to open the door for some deductions. The Pommel horse dismount is the most difficult dismount in gymnastics. It's the only dismount you get to repeat if you mess up enough. Judges will take credit from you if you pause or make significant contact with the horse on the way up to handstands. And I remember a judging course I sat in once where I learned there was something upward of like 25 different tenths that you can take on a single Pommel horse dismount. Right, and so that is one place you'll be looking for deductions. But for the most part, Carl Jacobs started off with a hit, and that's exactly what you needed from the leadoff man in this competition. Now I've got Cody starting for the midshipman, also starting with his scissor work directly into that single handle work, which is nice. He's very patient on his hands with his circle, which helps him keep some form, although there was a slight break there, but nothing major. Long travel over the horse where he's trying to keep his hands even as he moves over the handles and then right up to the handstands. Oh, he also showed some hesitation on the press. And it looks like they gave it credit, all right. So that's good, because it means if they take credit, not only do you incur deductions for the dismount that you did not do, you also take a fall, right? So there are plenty of times where just being grateful that you got credit, if it was debatable, is a huge win, because you're looking at something from 5 tenths in deduction to 1.5 points in deduction, right?
Yeah, that's a big area of focus for these athletes, is that dismount, and you can tell the difference when you see a good one, how fast it flies up, and anytime the gymnast goes up and then back down, that's no good.
We got Mr. Evan Reichart, another familiar face on the Pommel horse lineup. Good scissor work, show nice extension there. Getting those feet way up by his head, which is a requirement. You got to get him at least shoulder height or you incur deduction. Also showing off that single Pommel work, did that D-Russian flop to the tongue fei. Now time for the travel section of his routine. Can he pop that dismount right up? Oh, and he does.
Yeah,
right.
So that's an example of a really well executed dismount in terms of speed and not showing strength as he flies up.
Exactly right. And so you'll notice, though, he didn't do any revolutions, right? He didn't do any pirouettes down the horse, right? And sometimes it's these game time decisions, right? You can feel where your weight is, and if he knew he was going to get up and over the horse into a good handstand, but he wasn't going to make the pirouette, the smart play is 100% to take the lower difficulty dismount with no deduction rather than go for the pirouettes and incur deduction. I've got the next one up here. That was a good Russian flop. I think that might be the best one we've seen so far. Kept his legs pretty tight.
Yeah, he's got a fast swing. Good rhythm. Oh.
Some struggle there.
Unfortunately couldn't get it through. Yeah, you could see he had to take a couple extra circles there as he was trying to get ready for that dismount. Fell back down on the leather. He did a good job to stay on the horse and stay moving, but any extra circles is just draining to your arms. And if you're not ready, it can really take a lot out of you.
We talk about how brutal judging can be on a horse. They're also deducting for all of those circles, every single one. There we go. Oh, that was a great dismount on the repeat, right? He made the most of that.
Yeah, I did well there. Once you fall on dismount, you do not want to get up and then take any more deduction. So did a great job of finishing that routine well.
We've got some scores in. So for Springfield, we have Carl Jacob at a 12.65, and we have Evan Reichert at a 12.7. And for the Navy midshipmen, we have Cody scoring at a 13.3, and from a 14.4. That is a big. That's a good execution score, right? That he did very well.
Yeah, 1.1. Anything 1.2 deductions or lower is a very well executed routine.
Next, we've got Devin. He is another Pommel horse veteran. He's competed horse for Springfield a number of times. And as you can see, look, I mean, just look at the elevation on his circle. It's just such nice extension.
Yeah, it really is a noticeable difference on the front. You can see he's almost like in an arch sometimes, very straight, quick circles. Not very skewed at all, so doing well there. Oh, extra pirouette on that dismount gets an extra 10th as well.
There we go. Yeah, no, he's excited about that, and he should be. That was a really good set. Other than the slight struggle on the dismount, there was really no there were really no huge errors on that, or even medium errors, I would say. I liked how quickly he moved his hands from one side of the horse to the other on his tong fei. There are generally two different ways you can do that skill, right? Where you are facing the long way on the horse, and then you thread your arm across both handles, reaching over them to the other side of the horse. And you can either do that with a long hand placement or a quick one, and he did the quick one very well there. And we have Matthew Petros scoring at 11.85, but now it is time for Mr. Daniel Garovich. Showing great patience and extension on that single handle work. Beautiful Russian flop. Wow, this is very nice. Oh, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Magyar is a little funny. You can get the same credit for that a number of ways. Woof! Are they? Oh, and they gave it. All right.
He held on to that. He got up to the handstand, so they gave him credit. He'll probably get some deduction for, not having support as he was falling down. Yeah. But overall, that routine was really well paced. It was patient. He spent a lot of time on the single pommel, and anytime you do that, that's extra tenths to your score. Those are difficult elements that have a lot of value.
He performed them very well. And for those of you who are wondering what I was talking about when I said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Magyar, there are 5 sections of the pommel horse, right? Yeah, if you count for towards the end, there's leather, handle, leather, handle, leather. And if you Magyar and you touch all 5 parts of the horse, it's also a D value. It's just you can also do it in 3 circles. And so when you see an athlete choose to do it in 5 circles, it just sticks out because it's a little unusual, but it obviously is a perfectly valid and normal technique. This is the man himself, Peyton Kramer, NCAA All-American, starting off with that Zugo. Break in the hips, but he keeps the circle going. Gorgeous sewn.
Those 2 elements are so difficult.
Into the single pommel Russian work, which he has some leg separation on. And this routine is insane that he's going for here. You can see he is not skirted on the difficulty. He had some trouble, but he's moving through it. It is... That was something else. Yeah, the head shake, right? When you're doing a routine as difficult as he just did, part of the battle at this point of the season is literally raising your hands and getting through it in front of a judge, right? Getting through it in a team competition. He knows he can do it better. His teammates do, his coaches do. Everyone trusts that by the end of the season, that is going to be something that will once again be nationally competitive. So, yeah, it had breaks here and there, but that is an exquisite place to be at the beginning of the season. I very much look forward to running us back at conference championships so I can compliment him further.
Yeah, that was a really difficult routine. And if I'm Peyton Kramer, I want to throw as much difficulty as I can early on in the season to get that routine under my belt. And he really did that. It was a little bit of a struggle to get through, but getting through is the first step. So good on him for throwing up those big skills.
And we have Jonas Schultz, who is the Navy anchor. You can do that C scissor in. Establishing that rhythm. There's a slight hiccup, but he's also pretty good at being patient on that one handle. If you rush those hand placements, that single handle work, it's very difficult, very quick. There we go. That was a good dismount. He gets a pirouette. That's a hit. Maybe take those. Look at him. He's excited, and he should be. That was great work.
Shout out to Mom.
Shout out, Mom. Right. And to give you some more scores, Daniel Garovich came in at a 13.35, which is great. Once again, started 14.5, so just right around that 1-2 execution range. But Devin Felsenstein from Springfield with a massive 14.1 from a 14.8. So as we were talking about, that extension, that cleanliness paid off in spades.
Yeah, he had a difficult routine at a 14.8 and only 7/10 soft. So he's, I think, in a position to comfortably take the win on this event. And then notably, Peyton Kramer had an even more difficult routine, 15.4, by far the hardest routine we've seen today. That's, that can challenge for a lot of different titles throughout the season.
These judges are moving really quickly on Pommel horse. It's a quick shout out to the judges. It is not an easy event to judge, and they have been moving very quickly. All right, and so as mentioned, Mr. Brian Solomon will be competing in the all-around spots. So you're, of course, wishing him a great hit. But even if he scored a 17, it won't count for the team, unfortunately. Ooh, good E-flop.
Great patience there.
Seriously, he kept his body line very tight throughout it. That was a good routine. And yeah, no fall. And so it very well could have been on lineup, right? Just talking about how difficult it must be to make that Navy lineup, but that was a good routine.
Yeah, really interesting to see, the composition of that lineup, putting him in the all-around spot. Another strategy might be to just give as many people opportunity to compete early on in the season as well. That's a completely valid strategy to get exposure, get practice for as many guys as you can. And since Brian is competing in the all-around, you get that extra position to expose these guys to the judges and the whole new code and their new routines. That can really pay off. When you're later down the season, you're relying on maybe different lineups than you were at the beginning. It's really important to get exposure and practice under a judged condition in a competition. So that could be a valid strategy as well. And as we see Brian Solomon scoring 13.25 from a 14.4. So his score would have counted, replacing Matthew Petros.
So just taking a look at these scores here, we see that Springfield comes away with the event win at a 52.85, besting the Navy midshipmen by 0.75, right? That actually gives them the slight edge moving into rings. And so we're going to look at the top three scores on Pommel horse, that being, of course, Peyton Kramer with a 13.4 from a 15.4 start value. So even with his form breaks, because he threw that massive difficulty and he kept it on the horse, he still ends up on the medal podium. Moving second, Jonas Schultz with a 13.6, another great score. I mean, pushing a mid 13 on Pommel horse is very difficult, right? That is nothing to sneeze at. So it just kind of puts in context how crazy the winning score is at a 14.1, because 14.1 that's NCAA All-American territory scoring wise.
Absolutely, yeah. And Pommel horse is one of those events that typically score a little bit lower. So to be able to break that 14 mark is, that's a sign of a great pommel horse specialist. So Springfield coming away with a little bit of an edge, moving into rotation number 3.
I'm excited for the rings rotation for a number of reasons. One of them being very biasedly, I was a rings guy when I competed in the ECAC for William & Mary, where I was fortunate enough to win 2 different conference titles on rings. So it has a special place in my heart, ECAC rings, especially because I've competed against some of these athletes, actually. And so I'm also excited to see Aaron Stein. He's been a pretty consistent and solid rings guy for them. I like watching him consistently get better year after year. And it reminds me of this, I don't know if it's still written in their gym, but it was for a long time. But Navy has this phrase written on their board to the effect of, the will to win means nothing without the will to prepare. And it just, you can see it in the way Navy competes, that they compete as hard as they prepare, and which is extremely, right? They put in a lot of work, and it is visible in the details of their gymnastics, right? And so when I can see an athlete who's consistently getting better from year to year, like Aaron, it just really puts it in perspective, right?
Yeah, it's not easy to develop that kind of work, especially considering all the other responsibilities outside of the gym. And rings in particular is one of those events that your preparation is, building up that physique and the ability to do these incredibly difficult strength moves. And so it's kind of a very transparent look into the preparation of these athletes, this event in particular.
And I'm going to provide you with a quick technical analysis here, because this very well could be where the teams start to pull apart a little bit, and that is due to some rule changes that have happened within the past quad as well as within the NCAA. So now, in order to receive full element group credit for your routine, for the skills that you're doing, you need to do generally a DL value skill or higher, and that can be very difficult, especially on rings. And so if you can do, for example, an uprise Maltese, you're going to get 5 tenths for the uprise Maltese, and you're going to get 5 tenths for the element group. But if someone does a kip L, they are going to get 2 tenths for the skill, and they are going to get 2 tenths for the element group, right? So the difference is that guy who did a Maltese is now up, 1 point versus 4 tenths, so they're up 6 tenths on the athlete who did not. And previously, both athletes would get full credit for the element group, and that is not the case anymore, right? So we're going to see these athletes who are capable of doing these, straight planches, these difficult cross elements, and these Maltese skills pull away from the athletes who cannot, because they're going to be rewarded for that exponentially with their element group values.
Yeah, I used to see, maybe an all-arounder skirt by being really clean and really taking advantage of swinging elements, maybe not have the most difficult strength move and have really good dismount. And now what you're going to see is guys really pushing those hard strength moves, and that's gonna determine how they make this rings line up for their team and how they contribute, and then also the final score.
Oh, it's also worth noting that some of the swinging elements received a downgrade as well, right? So these Yamawaki elements, in which you're doing these double front flips while you're holding onto the rings, each one of them, the tucked version and the piked version, were decreased 1/10 in value. However, you can get that upgraded if you connect that Yamawaki to a giant. So often if we see someone do a tuck Yamawaki or a pike Yamawaki, they'll connect it to a front giant to get that old value for it. So instead of getting a B, they'll get the C back, or instead of getting a C, they'll get the D back.
Yeah, it's really changing the landscape for what an all-arounder needs to be able to do on rings.
Looks like we'll be starting with So it should be Garrett Lawless, right? Oh, that's a really cool last name, Lawless. Looks like we'll be starting with Garrett Lawless from Navy on this event. I love seeing the wall climbing wall in the background. I think it's an excellent background to a gymnastics competition. Well, he's a taller athlete too.
5'11", he's a senior. Usually you don't see taller athletes on rings like this.
Yeah, wow. They get shorter guys to have a shorter lever arm. Makes it a little easier. There's a lot less you to move around. Oh, with an uprise malt. Nakayama cross. Whoa, this guy is strong. So he's going to reload here. Into swing elements. Yep. Okay, so we're going to see that tuck Yamamaki here. Into an uprise cross. All right. These are good holds. Oh, unique skill. Going from the cross to the back lever, which a lot of people haven't seen since it was bonus in level 4. But if you do it like that, you get a B, actually. So I think that's worth it. And it's not like a back lever is hard for someone who can do it on Maltese, you know? If you can do a cross to, if you can do an iron cross, the back lever shouldn't be too bad. Okay, we got the front shine. Full twisting double tuck and a stick. That's a good leadoff routine.
Great. I was about to say great routine. Putting that in the leadoff has to really give this lineup a boost.
That had some huge difficulty in it, and so rings is one of those events where it can be a bit of a catch-22, right? You want to push these harder strength skills, but the harder skills you do, sometimes it feels like the harder the judges try and take them from you. They can nickel and dime you on every exact degree you are off from flat, you know, how did your arms bend, how high did your shoulders raise into this skill. So we'll have to wait and see to see how brutal the judges are being today, and then we can explain away some of those deductions. But I've got Will Wilson, a pretty good straight planche, but it's just a tad high. That was nice. Oh, back to the straight planche. There you go. All these strength elements need to be held for 2 seconds, so that might have been just a little shy. Swings. Want to see him fully extended into that handstand, get a nice handstand shape. Big double here. Whew. Too big. There you go, but he kept it on his feet.
Yeah, difficult dismount.
He does it very well here. He's been working on it for a while, and I think that effort shows just the way he was able to overcrank it. And so there are only 3 responses to overcranking your double-double. I will accept either, Will, you need to lay it out, or you need to throw some strength stuff in there so you're more tired next time you have to do it. I don't make the rules, but unfortunately those are the 2 things that have to happen now. And so I mentioned that his second straight planche hold might have been a little shy of a full 2 seconds. And the issue there being that if you are a millisecond short or you're a 1.5 second short of that 2 second mark, it is a 3/10 deduction, just a blanket, right? And so that's another spot where execution scores early in the season are hit pretty hard because they want to be reinforcing, the judges want to be reinforcing those holds in the athletes. But you're also trying new skills and new routines for the first time, so it can be difficult. That 2 seconds feels like an hour and a half. Right, so we have
12.7 for Garrett Lawless.
1.5 is pretty good. Here's Aaron Stein. Letting him grip. Upright straight. Oh, and then Kit Maltese. Interesting order to do that in. The Maltese is harder in a Dakota points than a straight planche, although a lot of athletes say that a Maltese is easier than a full straight planche. So perhaps Aaron's one of those athletes. Now the lower cross, he's picked up some swing, right? And so swing is a global deduction, or they per skill will take a deduction. Managed to kill it on the back of prize L. You can see the effort to keep his rings turned out on these skills. Front giant right to the handstand, despite a slight arm bend on the way up. Back giant also to the handstand, pretty nice. Dismount here. Oh, full twist and double layout and a stick.
Really like the technique on that dismount. You can see he was spotting the ground right off release of the rings. Could stay a little bit straighter with his body position to save maybe a tenth or two. But I would say it's a pretty great routine.
You know, that's the pro con of that dismount, right? That lay half. It is, I mean, just, you can spot the floor on it for such a long time, right? It makes it easier to get that stick, but it is so difficult to keep a perfectly straight body line in the air.
Yeah, judges are looking for body line on and off the rings, even after the dismount as well.
Yeah, and maybe he's racking in those stick bonuses as well, though, to make up for it. All right, now we've got Brian. Oh, that's my favorite Maltese so far, although it was a little short. Good Nakayama. I like that. Though his Maltese position was very nice.
Yeah, nice and flat, shoulders within the rings.
Just okay. Ooh. Okay, so it looked like that was supposed to shoot to a handstand. He didn't quite get there, and so he turned that into a felge to L.
Good, smooth, Brian.
Alright. Seems to be continuing with the team from there. Hope that wasn't too taxing, so we can get through the rest of this alright.
Put it down.
Solid handstand.
Good
Cool.
work, Brian. Good work.
So I think that might be a bigger hit to his score, because I believe you have to do a swing to a handstand as one of the requirements.
You do.
Correct me if I'm wrong, yeah.
He's going to get hit pretty hard for that. It's a 3-10 neutral for not doing the swing to handstand, and then you also incur deductions on the giant attempt, right? So he's likely going to get a 5/10 arm bend for that left arm that bent while he was fighting for it. Now, he kept that right one straight, but that's how they take it. So he'll probably get close to 3 of 5/10 arm bends, and in addition to his lower back breaks, possible knee breaks, and then they'll also give him a 3/10 neutral. So they will hammer him for that, despite the good work in the rest of his routine.
Yeah, not only do the judges have to figure that out on the fly and evaluate that, but maybe the coach is gonna try and advise them next time that happens to try and work a swing to handstand on the fly.
Here we have Brian Solomon back, our all-rounder. Uprise Maltese. Another Nakayama. I am impressed with how many people can do that bounce cross from the Maltese. Although he did have an angle, right? That Maltese wasn't perfectly flat, so they will take for that, right? They can go anywhere from no credit to 1 once they start deducting. I think that's probably closer to a 3/10 deviation from the normal plane. Front giant. I'm going to keep an eye on those rings, keep those turned out. Oh, double. Oh, and another stick. That is 3 for 3 sticks from Navy.
Love to see that, and that can kind of have a compounding effect, on the mentality of the gymnast. As you see 3 people go up from your team stick in a row, want to make it 4. So we'll see if they can close out this rotation with 4 for 4.
If I'm in Zachary's place right now, who will be anchor for Navy, that's 100% going through my head. I'm like, oh man, everyone else stick. If I don't stick, man, they're gonna mess with me.
Yeah, he's got to do it. Yeah, another thing to note about these strength moves is the judges don't start counting that 2 seconds until after you stop moving. So any of these strength positions need to be completely stationary.
Looks like we have Gustavin Seuss, another cool last name, as in doctor, who is up next on rings. I like his hair.
Come on, guys. Go time. Let's work. Come on, guys.
the Azarian cross element, which he did
That was
very
done
well.
really well. Yeah.
Definitely got a good hold there. Uprise cross, also done well. So when you uprise to a cross like that, you don't want your shoulders to lift above where you intend on holding. Right? So that's why he did that kind of front lever lower down into the uprise to try and kill some power so he can lift just high enough to get his shoulders flat and then hold across that position to minimize deduction. And he did a good job. It's a little over, but he keeps it. Time for the dismount. Double. Oof. All right, he keeps it. Oh, that's another one of those that's why we lift moments, right? We saw the knees, he landed just a little short, so he start to buckle, and then he caught it in that strong lunge position.
Yeah, a lesser man would have sat that one down or put a knee or a hand down, but he's able to muscle through and stay up there.
Yeah, impressive. There's lots of flipping and twisting going on. You said a lesser man. I mean, this man would have been, I would have been sideways. My feet would have been nowhere near the mat. Right, this is exactly Silo, who also competed in the TGA All-Star Meet. So I believe we can see normal T's. For a straight flinch. That was nice. Although he's picked up some swing, right? So I mentioned it's a global. So we'll get this per skill until he stops swinging. That's a good Maltese position. Although the swing did make it difficult for him. But still flat.
See if he can make that dismount stick 4 for 4 for the Navy. So 4 for 4 hits for Navy with that last routine from Zach. Springfield is going to finish off with Blaze.
Blaze is another strong rings worker. This is one to be excited for. He is anchor for a reason.
He's got a job to do because Brian Delph had a little bit of a score decrease from that swing to handstand error.
Good upright straight. Lower Maltese. That's difficult. And that's good. And the Nakayama cross with the hands open. Wow. This guy is strong. He just showed mastery over like 3 different strength elements. That is very difficult.
Yeah, very secure and held definitely 2 seconds.
And as I mentioned earlier, he gets the upgrade for that swinging skill because he did the 2 Yamakis directly into that giant. Now, giant through double. Woof! I mean, come on. As I said, he is anchor for a reason. That was a really nice set.
Yeah, I was gonna say he did his job as the anchor, being last guy up, trying to end that rotation with an exclamation mark and nudge out some of those errors from earlier routines. That was a great routine and really well done execution-wise in the strength moves, and dismount was great technique as well.
I was impressed with the amount of strength elements we saw today. We didn't really see any swing routines. Almost everyone who got up there did some sort of cross, straight planche, or Maltese. So, as we wait, you see Brian Solomon is leading the pack with that 13.0. It's actually, right now, it is Navy sweeping the podium. All 4 of the Navy scores are higher than all of the Springfield scores that are in so far. Although I would be surprised if Blaze wasn't able to poke at least into the middle of the Navy pack up top.
Yeah, that last routine should challenge for the top spot, but this whole rotation is going to be a big swing for Navy.
Not only challenged for the top spot, he took it, and decisively, the 13.4.
Yeah, that 14.8 start value. Coconut of 15 getting up there, and the execution was well done.
So as we can see now, Springfield has fallen to Navy by a good chunk, and it is 155.3 to 153.65, right? But also interesting because if you look at the leaderboard, Springfield athlete has won every event so far.
Yeah, so we'll see as you move into vault. Vault's going to be, somewhere where Springfield tries to make up some ground. It's generally one of the highest scoring events of the 6, so it's an opportunity to try and erase some of those earlier mistakes and capitalize here.
And it's definitely possible. I mean, Navy's not going to make it easy. They are no slouches on vault, but Springfield has some athletes who can really throw down with the best of them on vault. One of them, of course, Caleb Palacio, who normally does a front handspring double front, which is just about the most difficult vault you'll see at a given competition. But in the CJ All-Star meet, we saw him upgrade that to a drag Gillespie, which is a 15.2 value vault. Most of the time, the highest you'll see is around a 14.8 in a college meet, with athletes doing things like back 2.5 twist or a front handspring double front. And so for him to be pushing difficulty like that is truly unreal, with the added bonus of a drag LSU being easier to stick. So if we see one, it would surely be a treat, and it could definitely push for closing that gap between Springfield and Navy. That being said, Owen Carney's capable of the back 2.5. Will Wilson is off the top of my head as well. So there are definitely athletes on Springfield who, if they get their job done and put a little bit of glue on the bottom of their feet, can stick their way back into this.
Yeah, you can tell just by Caleb's one-touch warm-up. He's capable of that. He gets a lot of height. He's got a lot of power off of the block coming off the table. And so vault is just about getting as much flips and twists as done as you can and putting it securely on your feet. And if you're able to stick a vault, that's sticking a vault is probably one of the harder events to do, and so anytime you can do that, that's pretty rare occurrence. So we'll see if anyone can do it today.
Well, the fun of running full speed at a stationary object, it's never my forte, but I really like watching other people do it. So Brandon, when you vaulted, what vault did you do?
I typically did a Kazamatsu style vault. That's where you come on kind of like a cartwheel, where you have your hands one next to the other sideways. We'll probably see a couple of those, very common style of vault. And then notably other vault families. So that's an example of a Kazamatsu style vault where you have your hands sideways. So I typically did Kazamatsu 1.5, which is actually 2.5 twists. And so that's that 4.8 start value that you mentioned is kind of the upper start value that you'll see around college competition. And then anytime you get above that, you're looking at world-class style vault. So that's that Dragulescu 15, breaking into the 15 start values. And then other vault families that we'll see today are handspring style vaults. So that's putting your hands on the table facing forwards. Gymnasts can also perform your Chenko style vaults. That's what you'll typically see if you think about vault in terms of women's gymnastics. A lot of them do your Chenkos, and that's also a vault family you can do. But it seems like a lot of guys are going to do Kazamatsu or handspring style vaults here today.
So when we're looking at these Kazamatsu style vaults, what are some quick things to look for to know the difference between a good one and one that was just all right?
So the judges are looking at a couple of different areas as we see Will Wilson starting to go. So take a look at when the gymnast leaves the boards and goes to the table. You'll look for leg separations. You'll also look for height and amplitude coming off the table, form in the air, and then the landing, of course. There goes Will Wilson. Kazumatsu full, so a double twist. 3/10 step backwards, and you'll notice there are lines on the mat, so you want to stay in between those lines. Same as floor, 1 foot out of bounds is 1/10, and both is 3. It's a really quick event, so it's hard to see the form deductions, through a stream, but looks like anytime you come on the table sideways, you'll typically at least get 1/10 of a deduction for separating your legs. So trying to minimize that as much as you can is going to make the difference between a good and a great vault. There's Daniel Gurbich for Navy. Same vault we just saw from Will. Pretty similar in terms of the deductions. I'd say maybe a little bit cleaner on the table, but had another 3/10 hop backwards.
We have that first score from Will Wilson in at a 13.2 from a 14.4. And vault is one of those events where you can break that 1.0 e-score barrier and really push below it, actually, right? And so we can see guys who do a clean vault end up around 6-7 tenths in an execution. These e-scores are around like 9.3. Anything above that, we just saw something awesome. But yeah.
Yeah, 13.55 for Daniel. So, as I mentioned, a little bit cleaner in the air, even though they had similar landing deductions. That gave him a little bit of an edge over Will. Now we're looking at Evan Reichart for Springfield. Pause full again. I'd say that was a cleaner landing. Looks like his hop was smaller than shoulder width, which would be 1/10 deduction rather than 3. So really nice, clean work there. You'll see this cos full is going to be very common. Great way to get that 14.4 star value. These judges are moving fast, already getting ready for Ben Thurlow.
Evan Reichart scored in at a 13.75, which is the highest so far.
So a little bit of a short landing taken there. He was able to, looks like he stayed in bounds. But you'll see that block just had a little bit less direction out away from the table, so he ended up coming in a bit short. And judges really hammer landings that come in short rather than over-rotating because you get additional deductions instead of just the step. They're also looking at chest down, and then they can also take what's called a lack of prep deduction as well if you're not able to stand up completely. So that might be a little bit of a lower score. Owen Carney doing a cos full again. Nicely done. Maybe debatable between a 1 and a 3/10 step there.
Deduction is like the words of the boogeyman for a gymnast. I mean, you can get lack of prep deduction for a stick, right? And you'd think, well, if I stuck the landing, obviously I was prepared enough, but that is not how the Gymnastics Federation sees it. So that's a tough deduction to eliminate. And so it is why you'll see athletes who prefer to go over, or sometimes even just fully land forwards, because it's more difficult to get the deduction that way.
Yeah, it's kind of I'd say like one of the most subjective deductions you can take, and I don't know, it can be a little bit ridiculous at times. As we see Aaron Stein. Couldn't see the entry to that vault. Was that a handspring or a cos?
I think it was a cause.
Yeah, so cos full again. And now we're moving down the lineup. So typically what you'll see is at the end of the lineup, your anchor spot wants to be your highest score. So all vaults previously have been a 14.4 start value. And from Caleb Palacio, we're expecting to see big vault, starting at a higher start value. This is going to be exciting to
One
watch.
you don't want to miss.
Great speed. 2.5.
I actually didn't even know he did that.
Yeah, it kind of threw me for a loop because he warmed up a handspring front pike, which kind of tells me he's going to do a handspring style vault, but that was really well done. He got so much distance away from the table, landed off screen. So that's going to be that 14.8 dart value. Looked like it was maybe a 110 top. That's going to be, challenging for getting into the 14s in terms of score.
I literally did not even know he did a backwards vault at Cosmatsu style entry. That was a fun surprise. It's kind of crazy. You can do a 48 go forwards and backwards.
And you saw Matthew Petros try to do the same vault that we just saw from Caleb Palacio. Just didn't have quite enough height to get it worked around in time. And that's a difficult vault because you're landing blind, so you don't see the ground unless you're just really high and able to spot over your shoulder and break out of that twist that we saw from Caleb. So, and yeah, Caleb scored a 14.5. So, I'd say that's comfortably in the lead and pretty well deserved. 14.5, only 3/10 off. That's unreal. I'm kind of questioning that score a little bit. 3/10 is really low, but I mean, it was, at least rankings wise, definitely the best vault we've seen. It was a big risk, and it was big reward as well.
Put in context, that's probably going to be one of the highest scores of the year. Like in the first meet, 14.5 on vault is probably going to be one of the highest vault scores you see literally the entire NCAA season.
He will probably be ranked first in vault after this first week. Here we see Brian Solomon. He's competing for the all-around handspring 1.5. Yeah, so that's kind of an example of a different family of vault that you can do where you are placing your hands forwards, and the end of the vault looks the same. So it's technically half twist less, but it's the same start value as the cos fold that we were seeing from the majority of the athletes today. So still 14.4. But typically what you'll see with handspring style vaults is you get less deductions on the table before you get launched into the air because you're not turning, and the judge doesn't have a sight through between your legs to see that leg separation. So that's kind of the advantage of doing a forward style vault like that. So yeah, that score from Brian Solomon, 13.65. Caleb Palacio ran away with that rotation.
Yes, yeah, 2 event titles for this young man today.
All right, well, Springfield really chopped away at that deficit that they had behind Navy after rings. Only a couple tenths, 3.5 tenths behind at this point. So they did a really good job to bounce back after that, and that's really important. If you have a bad rotation or maybe a bad routine, the mark of a good team is to be able to bounce back from that and execute well in the next event. Put it out of your mind. This is 6 rotations of gymnastics, and you can't get a final score unless you take every routine into account and take advantage of every opportunity. So you can see that last anchor spot, both the gymnasts trying to do that difficulty value, that high risk 2.5 twists, and you can see the separation that can happen when you go for a difficult value element like that.
So running you through the rankings, in third we have Brian Solomon of Navy, who was once again in the all-around spot, so his vault does not count towards the team. Second, Evan Reichert from Springfield with a 13.75. And first, of course, Caleb Palacio, once again ran away with it, that 14.5. I mean, that battle of the anchors, 1.4 swing it in Springfield's favor, putting them directly back in this competition. 4/10 difference going into the last two events is nothing. So this is still very much anyone's game. I'm very excited for the end of this meet.
Yeah, Springfield came in as a little bit of an underdog, but they're clawing their way back, and anything can happen on these last two events. High bar in particular is one of those high risk, high reward events where you got to do a lot of releases, and if you don't catch that bar, that's an 1/10 deduction off your routine. So this is going to be an exciting end to this competition. Love to see the parity between these two teams, and we'll see if they can keep their momentum going.
Yeah, and just as a reminder, last season, Navy was ranked first in conference, and Springfield was fifth. So for these teams to be this close is very exciting. I love it when you don't know who's going to win the meet going into it. It's a little boring the other way, right? Obviously, the gymnastics is very good and exciting, but from a spectator perspective, it is so cool to literally be guessing the whole way through.
And I think that has a little bit to do with the new format of 4 count. I think that's helping to gain a little bit of parity between teams, because fielding 5 high scoring routines out of a roster of 20 on each event is pretty difficult to do. And so now these teams are able to field up 4 really great routines, 4 athletes up, and it's making the scores a little bit, easier to match.
And so speaking of parity, and I mentioned on rings, difficulty value is one of those things that can set some of these scores apart, because those who are capable of doing the D value and higher elements are going to be rewarded for that in start value versus those who cannot or choose not to. And parallel bars is another one of those events, because for these support skills especially, if you see someone do a Coots or a Peters, which either skill I'll call out if we see them, that means they're going to get 4 5/10s for the skill, and they're also going to get 5/10s for the element group. Whereas if you see someone do more simple Stutz or Diamondov, they're getting 3/10s for the skill, and they're only getting 3/10s for the element group. So if you successfully pull off a Makoots and someone does a Diam, you're going to be 6/10s differentiated, right? And to a degree, I think that's pretty warranted. I did parallel bars in college. I tried Makoots a couple times. Every single time I busted my thumb and then gave up eventually. So you deserve the 6/10s because I was not willing to stick with it.
Yeah, Makoots and any of those support elements that end or catch on one bar, they're pretty risky, and you really do risk not only coming off the event, but they're kind of dangerous coming down your full weight onto one arm. And so, the technique of these gymnasts has to be really dialed in. Secure handstands, great support, straight lines. And that's something, you want to take note of as you watch parallel bars, and you'll kind of see the differentiation between these athletes. The ones that have a really secure handstand that are tight, very, straight up and down, secure. That's really going to help not only with just the look of the routine and the execution, but the technique to complete the harder elements really comes down to the fundamentals and the positioning of these basics.
I dare say P-bars is one of the events where just the detail you put into your basics is the most prevalent. Seeing someone who's fully pushed out in their handstand, toes pointed, open in their shoulders, compared to an athlete who is not, is so immediately recognizable. And when you watch the routine, it looks so much more crisp.
Yeah, and because of that, you're able to flow through the routine with a rhythm. If you have that security and those fundamentals, if you're fighting in the handstand and really trying to balance and using that energy and strength to push yourself up, that makes the whole routine more difficult. It makes it easier to find deductions, and it's just not as smooth. So that's something that you'll really take. It's something that you'll be able to pick up on just by watching. Even if you don't know gymnastics, you'll be able to see the difference.
It's like we're nearing the end of our touches on parallel bars, and for those of you watching at home, I think we're going to see some more front dismounts today than usual, which I'm impartial to, as I did one myself. And so if you want to play along with me, you can guess pretty well whether or not an athlete is going to land their forward dismount before they even come off the rails, based on a couple of things. First, you want to look at the height of their front uprights, of course. How far above horizontal is their lower back. Being below that, it's also a deduction, but it's a very good indication of how much power they have. And then from there, you also want to look at how much they lean their shoulder over that post arm, how high their heels are going to be over their head, and whether or not they throw. Right? If you get that hand over heels, if you get that hand over your shoulder, heels overhead, and a good throw through your shoulders, you land it. But depending on what you miss, if you miss one of those, things get really dicey, and an underdone double front is just about impossible to save.
Yeah, double front dismounts are highly rewarded, and they're considered more difficult in the code of points. So it's kind of a high risk, high reward.
So starting with Justin. Notice that pirouette is to continue to swing the same direction, which is a new requirement. That's from the Coots, which he did well with no pause on the single rail. It's very common to pause on that single rail, off the deduction, but it's the kind of the giant, he's getting the toes down technique. Hold on through the bottom, and then move to a skill colloquially called our Suarez. This is great difficulty. This is a very nice set. Double pike, big hop backwards, but goes max out of the threes. So that's a good lead off for a team. That was difficult. It was done well. It was hit. Yeah, no, I really like that. And if that is for rotation, I'm really excited to see what they do with the rest of the event.
Yeah, that was a great leadoff spot for Navy. As you mentioned, a lot of difficulty values in there. Difficult elements. Could be a little bit more crisp in some of those positions, and there's room to improve there, which is really exciting because that has potential to be a really great high score, even as a leadoff position.
I am a tad worried about that Suarez skill, just the amount of open for regrasp he should, due to the height he got through the bottom, but I guess we'll see it reflected in the score whether or not they chose to hammer him. All right, here we go. Springboard mount, right into the peach element, which is becoming more popular. Not all the athletes love to do pirouette to begin their routine, so this gives you the opportunity to avoid that by pressing to the handstand and working from there. Do that difficult support element with the straddle front toss. Let's get some of that D value for the support work, and now he's getting his D value for the long hang work with that pelt, which he caught, and he moves up to the handstand. Woof. All right, so he keeps the double pike to his feet. All right, so no fall. But we were talking about how mean they can be about those low landings. So to run you through what the judges are probably thinking at the moment, well, what do you think, Brandon? I mean, definitely low chest, lack of preparation for landing.
Yeah, 3/10 for the step as well. I'd say his chest was well below head, kind of below his hips at that level. So he's going to get maybe even up to 3 there. And then I guess for lack of prep, a good way to kind of see it is how early the athlete's able to release from their legs and have their arms out before they land. And in the case where you kind of land with your arms still holding onto your legs, that's kind of a clear indication or a clear, sign that the judge is probably going to take lack of prep in that position. So 3 different separate deductions on one skill is going to be a hit to his score. And yeah, I think they did hammer Justin for that 11.95. You mentioned that Suarez, he caught kind of below the bars.
Yeah, that's the risk of going for those turning giant elements. They are very difficult, and so to make sure you're getting enough height after swinging your whole body weight through the bottom, kicking it up, and then doing a flip and a spin and trying to catch, it can be very difficult. Oof, that was like butter. That was a gorgeous Hanma.
Yeah, really well done.
He caught the Healy very early, a little awkwardness, but he worked with it very well. team way to the end. I'm always impressed when guys do that. I don't know if I'm brave enough to moy towards the end of the bars. I can just see myself flying off, but all right. And he did the pelt there. It got squirrely. He seemed to have kicked the floor, which is a deduction itself, right? And then from there, he called the belt, pressed it up, and moved into the Peters, where he seemed to come off the bars, unfortunately. Peters is that stutz to one rail, which is becoming a lot more popular to get the full element group value for those support elements. It's very difficult. There's a reason you didn't really see it before. It's become more popular, but it's still a tricky skill.
Yeah, you'll see coaches asking the judges a couple questions, probably asking if he got credit for that element, that Peters swing to one bar that he got, because if not, he's going to have to repeat some kind of support element to get that element group. So we'll see what he does if he repeats or not.
Oof. He didn't fall, but I'm not sure if he showed enough of a support for them to give it to him on the second run.
Yeah, that's kind of a gray area that the judge is going to have to decide whether or not he gets credit for that. I believe you have to have full support, 2 hands, in order to receive full credit for that. So that skill in particular is pretty high risk, and would have liked to see him try to work out of it on that first attempt. He fell outside of the bars, and you can actually kip up in order to save the routine, and it looks like he kind of fought the other direction to try and pull it back in.
But you mentioned, actually, it was the first thing that went through my head. There was a long time where guys who did Peters intentionally would do a kip out of it on a single rail just to avoid having to immediately pirouette back in case they messed up. We got Brian Delph. Right to pelt. There we go. Catching up. Pushing all the way out in that hand, and you can see the extension in his shoulders. Yamadov into the studs, but the studs is short. So they are going to take credit on that because of significant arm bend, and they are also going to deduct the arm bend. Double fronts. That was pretty good. But unfortunately, yeah, they're going to hammer him on that studs. He's going to lose credit for the skill, which will be a loss of 3/10, and then he'll probably incur 3 to 5 tenths in arm bends, and then whichever hand shuffles occurred as well.
So last couple of routines on P-bars have been a bit of a struggle. You don't want this to result in a runaway event for both these teams. So it's up to the next couple of guys to really stop the bleeding, as we say, and get the team back on track.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think the pressure is when it's your turn to compete and you've noticed that the rotation isn't going well?
Yeah, I mean, that's the position of these last 2 guys or last couple guys on the routine. That's when the pressure really starts to set up. And so every routine that goes by where you don't stop that bleeding, it can make the score run away. So Brian Solomon has got a job to do here.
He's been doing well today. I'm sorry, not to jinx him. I'm knocking on wood. I did not mean to jinx him. Commentator's curse and all. But he's fully capable of pulling this off. Good tip out. Stutz was a little short, but that'll still receive credit. Huge straddle front. He got great elevation on that. I really liked it. Going to the back of the middle, bars. Front up rise. Huge up front. That's good. Told you. I can call it mid-air. I can call it mid-air after doing a million of them. That was phenomenal. I really liked his dismount.
Yeah, so we mentioned about stopping the bleeding. That's how you do it with Brian Solomon. Put those first 2 routines out of mind. That's how you want to continue to move forward. So he did a really great job there of propelling the team back. That's a great sign of a veteran and experienced athlete.
Absolutely. He's a junior. He's an all-arounder, Winter Cup competitor. and all of that experience, that determination, and that steel showing off in one routine.
Yeah, and you could tell a little bit of the difference there. All of his elements had, significantly more elevation, had time to see the bars, had time to catch. So that should be the highest score we've seen thus far on parallel bars.
So looking at the scores a little bit, we see the Navy midshipman and Justin 11.95, Jonah 11.35, but Springfield, Skylar's at a 12.1 and Brian is at a 12.0. So Springfield is actually pulling ahead in this event here by about 7/10. Oh, all right, Peach handstand up from the bar. I'll probably get some strength, some arm deductions on that. There's the Peters again, difficult element. And Stutz. Stutz was right to handstand, so that was great. Probably no deduction. Alright, the classic 1-2, the Peach L press before the dismount gives you a chance to build some difficulty really easily and also breathe. There you go. Some small adjustments, looks like 2 small hops on the double pike, but pretty good. Fortunately, he had those breaks earlier in the set, but he worked through them and continued to put the sets down.
Yep, solid routine. At least was able to stay on, but you could see he was a little bit disappointed there at the end. Had a couple of breaks there that the judges will find for sure and bring the score down a bit, but doing a good enough job to keep the hit train rolling. Keep Springfield ahead of Navy at this point.
Brent Solomon's 12.7 will certainly help, especially in comparison to Carl's routine because of the breaks at the beginning of the routine. But you'll also notice they put the parallel bars up for Matthew Petros, which is not typically allowed. So that must mean he is so tall when he hangs an upper arm, his toes hit the floor, which is interesting. I very much did not have that problem, but I'm glad they are able to adjust for him. So the good whip, it's a handstand. Start the routine off. Peach handstand, tricky skill. Another Peters, another struggle. Well, honestly, worked through it better than most. Take some steps. So no matter the size of the step on the parallel bars, they're all 1/10. Just so you all know, it's not like floor.
Just opened up a little early on that dismount.
And just a little bit of the Icarus effect, as I affectionately call it.
Yeah, you can see he's definitely high enough on that dismount to land it well. He just kind of opened up a little early, tried to really go for that stick, and that was a risk at that point.
Let's go, Devin.
Yeah, no, this P-bar rotation has been an absolute roller coaster all over the place. So Carl Jacobs scores now in at an 11.9.
And that hurts. 8/10 swing between Carl and Brian Solomon.
So there's a lot of pressure on Devin right now because he knows if he hits this well, then it's absolutely an opportunity for them to capitalize on that maybe misstep in the last routine.
Yeah, it looked like Matthew Petros might have touched his hand on that dismount, and so this, as you mentioned, is an opportunity to go into the last event potentially with a lead.
Come on, Devin.
And the falling rules, if you touch your hands, can be a little weird. I think it's like if you put your hands down but you don't show support, like they touch the floor, and it's 5/10. But if you show support, then you use a full point. And if I were a betting man, I'd wager that was probably one of the 1-point deductions.
Yes. Come on.
All right, Devin. Starting with that peach mount from the board. I'll press handstand. The Diamidov and the studs. Got some air time on the studs. You had to correct it with some steps. There we go. Pirouette, double tuck, stoy. Very nice stick, very clean. All right,
A low
able to take
difficulty
that.
routine, but great hit, pretty clean, and so did his job well.
Yeah, that should be another pretty high E score from Devin, as we saw on horse, where he walked away with the title.
So it looks like they did take that 1 point off for Petros. He only scored an 11.5.
Well, if Devin goes 12.5 or above, not only does he become in contention for winning the event, but that he can pretty much undo the swing from the previous two athletes. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the head-to-head format. Being able to see just directly, these teams fighting tooth and nail for every single tenth is, I think it's great for viewer engagement. I'm on the edge of my seat over here.
Yeah, and they kind of experiment with different formats of actually like scoring and winning events and actual placements based on a head-to-head format. They do like Bundesliga events in Europe, and I'd love to see maybe some kind of events that are directly impactful in terms of results with the head-to-head format make its way to NCAA competition, or any competition in the United States, really.
I'd love just more elite meets in the U.S. Just generally, because we have winter nationals and we have nationals in the summer, and we have classics. Other than that, we don't have a whole lot going on over here. I'd love to host a Pan American Championships. I think that would be really cool. I'm all for more gymnastics events in the U.S. If you want to switch up the style in which these athletes compete, I'm all for it. I will be there. I will be seated. To run you through some scores while we are still waiting. Oh, we are no longer waiting. All right. So in first place on paddle bars, I'm sure no one's surprised, we have Brian Solomon from Navy. Second place, Skylar Cook with that 12.1. And tied for second is Justin Lozano from Navy with a 12.1. So I guess in that third, fourth spot would be Brian Delph. Yeah. Devin's score looks low because, 11.95 is not one of the higher scores on the board, but he only started from a 12.9, right? He got a 9.0 execution score. So he very much did his job. It's just he didn't have the difficulty to swing it in that routine.
Kind of an interesting choice to put that up as an anchor spot. Typically you'd see like the lower score, high execution routine get put up first as like a secure hit. So not totally sure if maybe he has some difficulty waiting in the bag for future competitions, and just getting used to competing as a anchor spot. But interesting to see that.
It's possible they had him take things out due to some of the struggles they were having early in the lineup, and if his routine was risky, they could have said as a team, take out this, take out that, and we'll just deal with it, but don't come off the events to make sure that they had a more stable foot rolling into high bar.
Right. Yeah, and that's a valid strategy as well. You can see that they just barely edged out Navy, 10th and a half. So it's possible that the coach was able to make that decision coming off at the last event.
Now time for high bar.
High bar is, I would consider, one of the more exciting events to watch. It's the last event. It's going to decide the end result of the team competition, but it's also exciting in terms of what the gymnast does on the event. They're able to do big release moves like we just saw there. Fast swinging elements, high flying dismounts, and so really the big challenge of high bar is going to be, number one, can they hit angles? Can they finish these in-bar elements and swinging turning elements in an exact handstand? Those are kind of subtle ways that the judge can take big deductions. And then there's also the release and catch aspect of this event. Really high risk to do these big high flying releases, and anything can happen. So it's going to be an exciting end to this competition, because really it could go either way at this point.
Absolutely. I mean, one missed release, two missed handstands, and that's that's like 3 points from your score gone. But to give you a more micro tailored look to this competition, last season Navy was ranked first in the conference on high bar, and Springfield was ranked fourth. But Navy also graduated a number of the athletes who regularly competed in their high bar lineup. Notably, Isaiah Drake is gone, so is Vishal Mandava and Riley Rose, right? These are 3 athletes who consistently competed for Navy on high bar. Isaiah Drake, one of the, I would say, arguably the greatest Navy gymnasts to do it, and Riley Rose is a conference champion on high bar, I believe. So some talented athletes missing from the roster, and it'll be super interesting to see how Navy has filled the shoes of the athletes who are gone.
First up for Springfield is going to be Will Wilson. Endo kip up to start. There's that one arm swinging element called a Zuli Min. That fulfills an element group as well. Now he's going to get into the big risk of his routine. Tkachev, nicely done, caught with extended arms. Double twisting, double layout, dismount. Very well done. Short routine, but well executed, very clean on the bar, and did his job as the leadoff guy for Springfield.
As you're watching at home, something that will help you make the difference between these good routines, the standouts. Of course, the swings will be, the releases will be bigger, but as they're swinging around the bar, these taps that they're doing, the way they manipulate and bounce the bar in order to do these releases and their dismounts, look at their knees. Are their knees straight? Are they together? Because those are deductions that we don't typically look for, that the judges are eagle-eyed on, right? And that'll help point out the difference between some of these tighter routines and the routines that are just all right.
Absolutely. This is Jonas Soltz. Beautiful half talk right to that handstand. As we mentioned, those angles really matter. The judges hammer those. Pike Tkachev. Probably do another one in the same style in the straddle. You can do 2 if they're in the different position in the air. It's really clean so far. Not too much to take off. There's that full twisting hopping element called a quast, and he's going to do a double out with a full twist. About a 3/10 of a hop forward, but really solid. Really like to see that half tuck at the beginning. Those can be really risky deduction-wise, but it paid off for him because he caught that right in the handstand.
He showed him exactly what the right angle is. He has a really early Tkachev tap, right? He gets that super early spike on the backside of the bar for his Tkachev, and it pings him up. He gets some nice height on that. He gets very dynamic in his release elements.
Yeah, you'll notice these guys might have different techniques in terms of their tap and how they generate that power to go high and get enough height for those release moves. So typically you'll see when they wind up like this, that's a Tkachev, yep. Layout Tkachev is one of those higher difficulty values, and this is really difficult. Coleman had to have a bent leg giant coming out, so he'll get some deduction there. But 3 big releases to build that difficulty value. Double out with a full twist. Looks like he stuck that, so he's going to get an extra 1/10 of a bonus there as well.
Bounce tap Tkachev for that straight Tkachev, but this is not as common because it can be difficult to get the rotation and turnover you need from just a bounce instead of a full Chinese style Tkachev tap.
Yeah, you'll typically see those kind of taps require some more energy, more power, but can be a little bit easier to place depending on the athlete's technique. So paid off well there for Tyler Cook.
Yeah, that was good variety as well. Obviously, he had some struggles with the Floorman swing out of the Coleman, but straight Tkachev and a Coleman are two big skills, D and E element values respectively, and from different release families. Shows good mastery of high bar.
Yeah, the gymnast can only do 2 of each style of release. So when you're able to do 3 releases, that kind of shows mastery of that element group. Okay angle there, maybe a little bit shy of the handstand on that half talk. There's another straight to Kachev.
His first one was very nice. This jam handstand was like gorgeous handstand.
Yeah, that was perfect handstand there. Catching a little bit close to the bar, you can see he has to bend his arms on the giant out. That is a deduction as well. Lining up for the dismount, full twisting double layout. Hop forward, wanted to capitalize that with a stick, but pretty solid routine overall.
I wonder if he'll be the athlete for us to break that 14.0 difficulty barrier. We had Jonah get closest at a 13.9, Skylar Cook right behind with 13.8 in terms of difficulty value. But as we move later in this lineup, we should see more and more difficulty. Caleb on his 4th event for the day.
Yeah, this guy's a big contributor for the team. He's got to put it down a good final routine.
Or any 3rd event for the day.
See what kind of release he goes for. Big straight to Kachev. Oh, connected it to a straddle, so he's going to get an extra 10th of a bonus there. Really well done.
Triple. Oh. Ooh.
Perfect landing on that double-double. That's going to be a great score.
God, I love a talented athlete just doing what they do best. It is so nice to watch.
Yeah, and he had, to connect to Kachev's that way, you have to have great technique. You have to see the bar, have enough height and rotation so that you can fully grasp and have pressure. And then you also have to be quick on your feet to react to the bounce of the bar. So went for that risk and it paid off. Had a lot of difficulty in that routine and a great stuck dismount. So that's going to really propel Springfield.
I'm going to get really animated real quick here. I mean, these teams are 3/10 apart right now, going into the last 3 athletes on this event. This is an insanely close meet. And I mean, they put out the power rankings like literally yesterday, and Springfield was 14th and Navy was 11th, right? This is a lot closer than a lot of people thought it would be, and it is riveting.
Really unique skill there called a Piatti. Adds an extra 10th to that Tkachev style release. And he's going to do it again in the straddle position.
It was very nice work from Boone.
A little bit shy on these handstands, but the release work was great. Wants to put down a good dismount. Double-double, looks like maybe a small hop forward. All right, that's 3 for 3 for both of these teams.
I cannot imagine how they feel right now. I am sweating just watching this. Owen Carney knows the fate of the meet is in his hands right now. This routine could very well be what does it for the Springfield Pride, getting a win over Navy, which I believe they got 1 last year at the Navy Open. But to begin their meet by taking down the opponent ranked 3 spots ahead of them, I think would be a tremendous way to start the season.
Yeah, this could be huge, and this is a lot of pressure for Owen Carney going up in the anchor spot. Caleb Palacio scored a 13.0 with that last routine. So they've got some good scores on the board. They just got to finish it out with a good routine.
I bet Boone will be pretty close to that, if not ahead of it. Boone's routine is pretty good.
Right, here we go. Anchor spot.
And Boone is in at a 13.4.
Oh man, this is close. Good angle on that half talk.
Oof, another one of those early Tkachev taps. Huge height.
One more. Ooh, fingertips on that. Really well done, though. He's got straight arms, smooth swing, dismount. Oh, no.
Oh,
That's unfortunate. Slipped off on that dismount. Hope he's okay.
looks like he cleared his head twice, so hopefully he's all right.
You don't want to see that. That was going to be a really great score. That was a good routine up until that last part.
You'll
And that's something
give
that's just
them-
out of your control. You can't, that's like a freak accident. You can't prepare yourself for slipping off the bar that way.
We'll give them a minute. You can take some time to run through some other events, what else has gone on today, while they evaluate him. So we'll run back through some podium for a minute on floor. Oh, he's gotten up. All right. So running through the leaderboard a little bit as they reset. In first place on the floor, we have Caleb Palacio from Springfield. Second place, Brian Solomon. Third, Daniel Garovich. Moving to Pommel, Stefan Felsenstein from Springfield. Second, Jonas Oltz. Third, Peyton Kramer. Rings, we go third. We go first, Blaze. Second, Brian Solomon. And third, Garrett Lawless from Springfield, Navy, and Navy, respectively. On vault, we have Caleb Palacio in first, Evan Reichert second, Brian Solomon third. Parallel bars is the first event won by a midshipman with Brian Solomon, second Skylar Cook, third Justin Lozano. Looks like we are back up and rounding on high bar.
Yeah, so Matthew Petros just needs to stay on the bar to secure that win. Pretty late on that tuck full, but that's a highly valued skill, so he'll get some difficulty bonus there. Great job on that half tuck right to the handstand. Now here comes his release moves. Yeah, out to Kachev. Very well done. Do it again in the straddle. Needs to put a dismount to his feet.
Burn on that quast.
Oh, and unfortunately takes a fall, so I don't know how this is going to go because,
They
both
scored
these
in
teams,
Kearney.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
11.6 for Kearney.
Yeah, if you're wondering what they did, he did not do his intended dismount, of course, but he did complete 2 flips in a position, which I assume they gave a tuck. And so they scored the rest of the routine, although his dismount value and skill was much, much lower, and they took a fall. Right, so it seems a little brutal, but that is the truth of it. Right, and so I am not fantastic at quick math, but it looks like Springfield is about 10 or so points ahead. Right?
Yeah, Matthew needs to score an 11, over an 11, and to secure the win.
I'd be
which is
surprised if he
possible.
didn't. Yeah, I'd be surprised
Yeah,
if he didn't. I still think it'll be close, but like around like an 11.5 would make sense. 12.45, even with a fall? Whoa.
Well, he started from 4.7, so he's got the highest start value of the meet. So even with the fall, scoring at 12.45, that's going to secure Navy with their win. Unfortunately, didn't want to see that coming off, an accident like Owen Carney. But now we got Brian Solomon in the all-around spot, so it's not going to count for the score. It's not going to change the result, but he's looking for an all-around podium.
He should have it. He's the only all-around athlete today, right?
I believe so. Nice clean work on that release. So far looking good. Big windup for the dismount. Triple back.
Ooh.
That was nicely done. Opened up, saw the ground. Huge air on that. That's an exciting routine.
Yeah, I mean, that was an unreal meet. I mean, that was truly insane to have be the first competition. The first 3 events were very solid across. The first 4 events were very solid across the board, and then we got to parallel bars where it was a bit of a mess for both teams across the board, and then we got to high bar where they were just battling it out like titans until we had that unfortunate miss and seeming injury from Owen Carney, who I very much hope is okay. And had he stayed on the bar, it is very, very likely that Springfield actually would have pulled off the upset here.
Yeah, and that's exciting for Springfield because they've got even more room to improve based on today's competition, and starting off being so close to Navy, that's a great sign for the future. And yeah, as you mentioned, Brian Solomon for Navy was the only all-arounder, so good showing for him, scoring a 79.05 from Brian. So
he went 79 today?
Mark. Yep, 79.05. So approaching the 80 mark, which is a big score for an all-arounder. So great showing from him.
That's massive. Makes me curious if I can quickly pull up what his best all-around score from last season was, because that's a great place to start this year.
Yeah, so high bar finishing up, we got in third place Caleb Palacio with a 13.0. Brian Solomon from Navy scored second with a 13.05, and then Boone Washburn got the event for high bar, 13.4.
79 is higher than any of his all-around scores last season, so he might be very well starting off with a career high in all-arounds.
That's great to see, and a testament to the development and hard work over the offseason.
Yeah, now looking through that is his career high in the season debut. Looks like Navy had a significant edge on Springfield in terms of difficulty on high bar, where they had only one athlete on their counting lineup below a 14 in start value, and then whereas Springfield didn't have anybody who broke a 14 in start value. Although, that being said, Owen Carney unfortunately was unable to finish his routine.
Yeah, so I'd say in terms of difficulty, Springfield still coming with a bit of an underdog status, but they showed that they got some talent to work with, and they've got some really great routines, able to execute stuff well, and they're going to only improve as the season goes along.
Absolutely, I'm very excited. I mean, yeah, Springfield came away with the win on 4 events today, right? Floor, pommel, rings, vault. And the Navy with Brian Solomon winning parallel bars and Boone Washburn winning high bar. So that's exceptional. So yeah, as I mentioned here, we see Caleb Palacio with that 13.65 on floor, big score. Once again, imagine he gets to stick on that double pike dismount, that flirting with a 14.0. That's huge gymnastics.
Yeah, he really showed up for Springfield today across all of his events. And then Brian Solomon, great all-around day, scoring second on floor with 13.4, and then we saw Daniel Gurovich getting a 13.3 to round up that top 3 for floor.
Pommel horse Devin Felsenstein with that 14.1 from a 4.8. Look at that E-score, 9.3. There were only 2 athletes who broke a 9.0 execution on the horse, and of course they are 1 and 2 respectively, but Jonas Holtz in second with that 13.6 from a 14.5.
Yeah, and Peyton Kramer really went for the difficulty there. 15.4, that has some really great potential if you can clean it up a little bit. As you can see, the 8.0 execution. Anything above a 9-0 execution on horse is pretty phenomenal. But having that difficulty value shows that he has room to improve, and he can really challenge for that NCAA podium.
Oh, absolutely. Rings, we got Blaze Rousseau from Springfield. Great rings worker, 13-4. I really liked his set where he should Maltese and cross and still have the airwiness and energy to dismount with a double-double.
Yeah, he had the highest execution, and he had the highest difficulty, and it really showed on his strength elements and the dismount as well.
More so than a very familiar name, Brian Solomon in second place with that 13.0. And in third, Garrett Lawless from the Naval Academy with a 12.7. I see a pretty wide range of D scores there from 4.8 to 3.5. Talking about that parity where the athletes who can do that, who can do these tougher strength elements, complete them successfully, really do benefit on events like rings and parallel bars. You got this one, Brandon.
Yeah, vault, no surprise to see Caleb Palacio with that beautiful 2.5 twisting vault scoring a 14.5. As you mentioned, 0.3 off with a 9.7 execution. That's going to be at top of the NCAA leaderboard for a little bit. So that's really great to see. And then we got Evan Reichart coming up in second with a 13.75, and Brian Solomon with a 13.65 to round out the top three for vault.
The only way you only get higher than a 14.5 is you do a harder vault. Like, if you stick a harder vault, you'll probably be above. You'll be above that most likely. Other than that, it's going to be a tough score to beat, even if you also stock 2.5 at a different meet.
Yeah, and he didn't. He's got even more in his bag, as you mentioned. He's capable of even harder vaults, so he'll be trying to top that himself.
I forgot. Yeah, that was the 14.8 with a hop.
Parallel bars, we got Brian Solomon coming away with the win, 12.7, and Skylar Cook and Justin Lozano tying for second with that 12.1. You can see both these teams had a little bit of a struggle on this event in particular, so this is going to be a big focus for both these teams moving forward as they get prepared for the upcoming competitions. This is where both head coaches are going to really try and dial in to improve their overall team score.
Those parallel bar squad sets are going to just be so much fun over the next week or so.
And high bar, we got Boone Washburn coming away with the win with a 13.4. Great routine from him, 14.6 difficulty. And then we got Brian Solomon coming away with second, 13.05, and Caleb Palacio just behind at 13.0. So both these teams really came down to the wire at the end of this competition, and high bar was high pressure. Can't see the all-around standings, but Brian Solomon was the only all-arounder. He scored a 79.05, as we mentioned. So great showing for him, as you mentioned, coming away with his personal best.
So going through your events, we see a Navy midshipman come out on top with a 307.65. Springfield just barely trailing behind with that 306.1, so about a 1.55 difference. Although, yeah, a lot of that was due to that. I mean, there was just so much good gymnastics that happened in the meet, and then the misses were the things that are easy to fix relatively. It didn't look there were a whole lot of glaring issues in any of the gymnastics we saw today. And so this level of parity between the team that is first in the conference and the team that might be fourth or fifth in the conference is exactly where we want to be, exactly what we want to see, so that each meet keeps you guessing throughout the NCAA season.
Right, and that's a good way to start out the season, I think, for both teams, having the ability to attempt some bigger skills, really throw out higher difficulty values to try and get that under their belt and prepare for the rest of the season. And they both have room to improve, and they both can identify areas of improvement. So coming away from this is a great start for both teams, and I'm excited to see how they both kind of battle out for that ranking position moving forward, because they were both really great today and both really close.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. Once again, my name has been Christian Marsh.
And I'm Brandon Briones.
All right. Have a good rest of your night.